Evet arkadaşlar, hoş geldiniz. YouTube şu an Kick'te ve Twitch'te yayındayız. Bu videoyu da tabii YouTube'a koyacağız. Birazdan yaklaşık 30 saniye sonra Path of Exile 1 The Keepers of the Flame, değil mi? Sezonun videosu geliyor. Daha doğrusu yayını geliyor. Onu izleyeceğiz beraber. Bu bir tepki videosudur. Hani şey demeyin, abi hiçbir şey açıklamamışsın ya. Bu nasıl video falan demeyin. Tepki videosu arkadaşlar. Burada hep beraber ilk defa göreceğiz. Tepki vereceğiz. AU yapacağız. Hayatımıza devam edeceğiz. Hadi bakalım gelsin.
I'm Jonathan Rogers from Grinding Gear Games, and welcome to GGG Live. Today we're going to show you an exclusive reveal of Path of Exile: Keepers of the Flame, which is coming out 1 week from now on October the 31st.
Bir hafta sonra geliyor.
Drops are enabled on today's live stream, so
Dropları
you
çık.
can claim your Hiveborn Crawler pet by following the instructions below. Without further ado, let's roll the trailer for Path of Exile: Keepers of the Flame.
Hadi bakalım.
We, the Keepers of the Flame, serve the will of the Dreamer. His instructions whispered from beyond the wall of sleep. But now, the Hiveborn are here, on Rayclast, and they seek to poison our world.
Breach!
We must close their breaches, destroy their hives, slay their breach lords.
Arkadaşlar bir de bunu Delirium'da yaptığınızı düşünün. İptal. İptal olacak yine ekran kartları. Geçmiş olsun şimdiden.
And by his gifts, the Dreamer provides.
O ne? O nasıl bitiriydi öyle?
They brought this war to our world, but we shall end it, whatever it takes.
Wow. Genesis Tree. Mysterious Item Bomb falan. Craftlar. O ne? Adamın arkasından kol çıktı. New Skill and Supports. Güzel. O neydi lan öyle? Bloodline Classes ne? Bir dakika. Yeni 3 tane Uber Boss. Yeni trade sistemi geliyor. Yes. Abi stage stepleri kurtardık gençler. Geçmiş olsun. Gözümüz aydın.
Now, as you can see, this expansion is a true sequel to the Breach League, first introduced to the game in 2016. We felt like it was time to progress the story of Breach, bringing with it a slew of new updates to the base game. In today's stream, we'll take you on a deep dive into Path of Exile: Keepers of the Flame, beginning with the League mechanic, covering all the fearsome challenges it presents, and the new twisted ways you'll be able to empower your character.
Az başlık var geçen seferkine göre.
The new ascendancy options possible with Bloodline classes.
Zaten bazılarını biliyoruz.
We'll cover the much anticipated and synchronous trade system coming to Path of Exile 1. Afterwards, we'll move into the new Uber Pinnacle bosses, how to access them, and some new drops worthy of the added difficulty. Finally, we'll cover some notable quality of life improvements,
İyi şu
moving
an?
on to our supporter packs and challenge rewards. We'll then have a live Q&A session where Ziggy D will ask Path of Exile's game directors Mark and myself your questions from Twitch chat.
İyi oldu mu şu an?
After the live stream, we'll drop the full patch notes at 11 a.m. New Zealand time or 3 p.m. Pacific. So let's get started. I'll hand things over to Mark to introduce the new league.
Mark, gel bakalım.
I'm Mark Roberts, Game Director on Path of Exile. Breach is a beloved league that has had an iconic history in PoE. We intend to honor that legacy with our first ever sequel league, Keepers of the Flame.
Breach bu arada en az talep gören
Every
mekaniklerden.
aspect of Breach, adding new layers to discover, richer lore, scarier bosses, and entirely new mechanics. That said, this is still Breach, so you will still be opening breaches and slaying hordes of otherworldly monsters. The Breach Lords have found the means to stabilize the connection between their realm and Rayclast. Now, with their grip tightening, we learn their true goal in our world: conquest. The threat they pose has now escalated to home soil. On the coast in Act 1, you'll encounter Aelith, the founder of the Keepers of the Flame. This is a monastic order sworn to defend Wraeclast from the Breachlords. The exit to the Mudflats has been barricaded by Hiveborn, breach monsters that are working to claim every inch of Wraeclast. Aelith can grant you a small spark of the power of the Flame, allowing you
verdi
to
bir tane.
blast away their barricade and move onwards. Once you enter the Mudflats, you'll find it infested with breach monsters. They appear to be constructing a kind of hive, creating strange shapes and structures that absolutely don't belong. Time to purge them with fire. Aelith needs you to protect her as she empowers the flame to do so. Hold off the assault long enough, and she'll be able to demolish the hive with cleansing flame. In other areas, the gap between worlds is strained. Here, you'll find a more familiar encounter with a new twist. A massive breach hand sunders the space between dimensions.
Hedef Exile
Touching it
2.
will open an unstable breach, causing monsters to flood in. If you can slaughter them quickly enough, you can stabilize the breach. This brazen action can draw the attention of Vroon, Marshal of Zesht, who will do everything it can to stop you.
Zeşt'in Marshall'ı geliyor.
Permanently seal the breach, severing another connection between the Breachlord's world and Wraeclast. These stabilized breaches are similar to what a breach once was, but with upgraded monsters, a success condition to shoot for, UI tracking to keep the player informed of their progress through the encounter, and satisfying feedback
Vurun
when you do
kafasını
manage to
alsana.
complete the encounter. We've taken all the lessons we've learned since the release of Breach 9 years ago and improved upon it in every way we can. However, much of the joy of Breach came from its simplicity. While we want to modernize the mechanic, we don't want to undermine the core experience. You're still mostly just slaughtering hordes of enemies in a circle. Finally, in endgame areas you might run into breach constructions that have been left unopposed for too long, and have grown into their full twisted glory. Breach hives.
Breach Hive.
Towering flesh-crafted cities in the sky. These are the visions of the Breachlords made real in Wraeclast, teeming with breach monsters. You must raid and destroy these cities with the help of Aelith and her flame. In some of these hives, you may even encounter some of the Breachlords themselves.
Oo.
Will not be happy you're intruding on their planned conquest.
Bunların bazıları çok zordur bu arada. Ne oluyor?
Now, let's talk loot. Of course, being an exile is hard work, and you're unlikely to help entirely out of the goodness of your heart. Fortunately, Aelith has power and rewards aplenty, born of the Breach Realm itself, to offer you for your assistance. Help her, and she'll bring you to the Monastery of the Keepers, the hallowed halls of her order. Here, you'll find the Genesis Tree, the growing heart of the Keeper's power. On interacting with it, you'll find that this tree has a tree.
Oo.
That's right. It couldn't be
Ağaç.
Path of Exile unless the tree also had a tree. More importantly, the Genesis tree is an engine of unholy creation, and a profitable one. As you complete breach encounters and work more with Aelith, you'll be able to
Tövbe
grow the
estağfurullah
Genesis tree
ya.
larger
Çoluk
and
çocuk
larger,
oynuyor bu oyunu ya.
sprouting additional limbs. Each of these limbs, you'll notice, has their own inventories. These can be used for an unusual method of crafting new items. With this system, you'll be able to grow currency, uniques, equipment, and a new kind of otherworldly item, grafts.
Ne? Graf.
Grafts are breach hands grown directly from the Genesis tree, born of the same flesh and sinew as the invading monsters. These fuse directly to your body, in a completely safe process. Don't worry about it. With
Abi bu
grafts,
ne?
you can harness the power of the breach. Some provide passive benefits like this, or this, but they can also grant a wide selection of powerful skills.
Skills.
These graft skills can provide a flexible way to fill gaps in your build, offering everything from damage to potent defensive buffs and crowd control.
Yerden bir şeyler çıktı. Onlar
For
ne?
example, the
Ne bu?
Battering All Graft will
Ih,
cause massive
o nasıl-
bombs to erupt from the earth,
O hasar ne lan?
all those they hit. For some additional pack clearing power, you could consider the Squalling Tool Graft. When commanded, this graft will cast Dance in the White, creating a deadly ice tornado which aggressively seeks enemies and fires off bursts of ricocheting projectiles when you critically strike with skills.
Güzel.
For some further utility and a useful buff, try out the Storming Esh Graft. This can be commanded to call down a ring of bolts from the sky that will leave behind the new Radiant Ground. Radiant Ground grants a potent damage buff to allies standing within it and makes them
Life regeneration mu?
lucky.
Oha hit. Ne?
If you're simply after raw damage, look no further than the Erupting Zoth Graft, which causes massive eruptions of fire where you command, which then re-erupt when you Warcry. There are a total of
Warcry.
16 different graft types you can grow, each with their own skill.
Abi
You can even unlock a second graft slot as you progress through Aelith's questline. So feel free to mix and match Flesh Zone horrors to your heart's content.
ne büyükler çıkacak yine.
Grafts aren't just here to make you stronger, they are also your means of feeding the Genesis tree, which needs constant supplies of graft blood to grow anything useful. You can do this by defeating breach monsters, which will leave behind blood that your graft will automatically collect. When you feed this blood to the tree, your allocated passives will be put to work. This section of the Genesis tree can be used to grow new grafts for you, which the Genesis tree will then birth in a gruesome display.
O ne oğlum?
Basic passives on the tree might increase item rarity of birthed grafts,
2500 ay.
or the chance to birth additional grafts. These passives can target specific types of grafts, and this passive causes grafts to be birthed with a random amount of quality. Quality improves the amount of blood that can be stored by your grafts. This section of the Genesis tree births currency items. Basic passives can result in more or better currency. Allocate this passive to sometimes cause a shower of currency to burst forth from the flesh of the tree. Yeah, it's a bit gross, but working with the organic matter of a bunch of dead otherworldly creatures was never going to be a clean affair. Grafts themselves are born of a different world, so are unmodifiable by most currencies. However, with this passive, the Genesis tree can occasionally grow fleshy mockeries of currency orbs. These function like augmentation orbs, regal orbs, or exalted orbs, but they work on your grafts instead of normal gear. Yep, it's graft crafting. Allocating this passive can result in Foulborn currencies. This Foulborn Exalted Orb, for instance, behaves as a normal Exalted Orb, except it guarantees a higher tier modifier. By locking out a large portion of the lower rolls, a normal Exalted Orb would be able to hit. The largest section of the Genesis tree is used to grow rare equipment items. For these, you have a lot of agency to influence the type and modifiers on your grown item.
Oyunu baştan öğreneceğiz
For
yine.
example, you can specifically target boots with a dexterity requirement, with an increased chance for speed modifiers, and reduced chance for cold modifiers. Or maybe you'd prefer to look for a two-handed axe with increased chance for physical modifiers. This section of the tree is for growing unique items. Similar to the equipment section, there are passives that let you target growing specific types of uniques or rarer uniques.
Kemer. Herkes kemer
The
seçecek
process
burada.
of growth is not always a perfect one, however, and can result in some defects. This passive can result in birthed uniques becoming Foulborn, which mutates one of the existing modifiers on the item into a new one, resulting in some interesting new ways to use that unique. For example, this Foulborn Quill Rain no longer has increased projectile speed, but instead has increased area.
Abi Mage Blood geldi.
Another Foulborn Quill Rain could
Ay.
replace the mana gained on hit with the much more powerful modifier where insufficient mana...
Mage
doesn't
Blood'da
affect
şey yok
your
mesela.
attacks.
Kemer modu yok.
Here are some other examples.
Oha o ne 63 Chaos Resistance lan.
This passive even gives a rare chance for Foulborn uniques to have multiple different modifiers mutated.
Ne yapacaksın hoş geldin.
I'm sure you'll come up with some extremely powerful uses for these. We'll leave it up to you to discover what this mysterious part of the Genesis tree can grow. So, ultimately, you'll be slaying masses of breach monsters, harvesting blood with the aid of your grafts, feeding that to the Genesis tree,
Evet.
growing some items and better grafts.
Ağaçtan unique toplayacaksınız arkadaşlar.
As with all our challenges,
Farming.
this league will come with a set of 40 challenges to pursue, and completing them will award you with the Keeper of the Flame armor set, allowing you to truly
Tamam.
embrace becoming
Yine
a
40 tane challenge olacak.
the dreamer. Now, graph skills won't be the only new tools to play with. In 327,
Necropolis
we also
andırdı
added
bana
a
da, evet.
collection of new skill and support gems. Let's go over them now.
200 kaos resti mage blood.
Kinetic Rain is a new one
Fiyatı ciğer.
which covers
Sağ
the
ciğerim.
ground in unstable kinetic energy. These
Ya da böbrek.
hazards collapse at the slightest touch, releasing their energies into any unfortunate soul who happens to be standing on them.
Abi bu skill bir yerden sonra gözleri yorar söyleyeyim.
An enterprising exile could carpet the world in dangerous kinetic force.
Çok güçlü oluyor böyle yetenekler ama
Wall of Force creates a barrier of kinetic power, causing allied projectiles to ricochet towards targets automatically.
aa,
Drop
çok
one
iyiymiş.
behind a boss and redirect the bolts of your armies. I'm sure you'll find ways to break this one. Conflagration is a new bow attack which rains down fiery bolts from above,
Aa, çok karizma
onto
bu.
the ground and pulses
Ama
your
yine
foe.
göz yok eden bir.
Once you get close
skill.
enough, these bolts detonate, causing ravaging ignites.
Abi
These bolts chain react, allowing you to create fields of incendiary destruction. Thunderstorm is a bow attack, which creates a whirling storm of wind and lightning where it lands.
ne bu güzel.
While you're within the storm, it will rapidly grow until it becomes violently thunderous with lightning infused clouds. At this point, leaving the storm will cause it to detonate, dealing damage to everything within and releasing a flurry of tornadoes in all directions.
Bunu stackleyebiliyor musun mesela? Yüzlerce tornado çıkabiliyor mu?
Kinetic Fusillade will create hovering orbs of energy. These linger for a few moments above you before zipping off to nearby targets,
Aa,
chaining between them,
Neydi?
then detonating.
o skinin adı eski ilk çıktığında çok güçlüydü de Frost olan. Ne orb? Ona benziyor. Kafanın üzerinde duruyordu o da.
With speed and ease. Use these alongside your spellcasting to augment your pack clearing abilities, or find whatever means possible to cover the world in living sparks of ruin.
Frost orb değil ya.
Winter
Winter Orb, ha. Winter Orb'u hatırlattı o.
which ricochet around wildly and quickly. These deal moderate damage as they travel, but will explode into a highly damaging burst when they expire. So it's a choice between scaling their duration up to get better coverage, or down to access the burst more quickly.
Bu skill meta olabilir.
Instability is a support gem to go along with the new wand attacks that causes enemies slain to leave behind those same orbs of shimmering
Abi
energy.
geçen sezonun yıldızı ya.
One might ponder
Mercenary'lerde vardı bu.
if you were to use both.
O kinetic bolt bu arada
In
acayip güçlü olabilir.
Exiles
Rakamlarına
will
bakmak
absorb the
lazım.
power of some of the bosses they defeat. These take the form of new Ascendancy class options called Bloodlines. Bloodline classes are a new means of character customization in the endgame.
Bunlar ne
They are
esas?
secondary Ascendancy classes that are unlocked
Miniye
by
tabii ki bir şey yok abi.
specific endgame bosses. They are allocated with your normal Ascendancy points, and you'll have to choose how many of your points go into the original Ascendancy and how many into your Bloodline class.
Ha.
This means there is a nigh limitless ability to mix and match here, as you could choose to invest just a couple points into your bloodline, or max it out, and you could take any bloodline with any base ascendancy class that you see fit. To unlock your bloodline, hunt down the endgame boss whose power you desire, and defeat them, or have a friend help, and claim the power for your own.
Onlar ne?
There are 10 bloodline classes to discover. Bosses who offer this power are typically associated with past leagues, giving additional reasons to engage with that league.
Aha Mehmet. Kapat yayını.
Let's run over a few examples. The Chaos Bloodline will be offered to you by the Trial Master, if you manage to succeed his final challenge. With his blessing, you can greatly augment your Vow skills in different ways. Priest of Yalmak lets you use Vow skills much more often, while Priest of Kopek makes it harder to build up Vow skills, but makes them far more powerful. Or take Corruption's Embrace, which grants more Vow Keystone powers the more corrupted items you have equipped.
Shepherd of
The
Souls o.
Ashabi bloodline can be gained by, you guessed it, defeating Ashabi. Her abilities are drawn from the 3 types of life force that manifest within as Marian spirits. The wild bear rewards you with adrenaline for generating rage. The vivid cat gives your elusive buffs a chance to refresh, as well as making you more stealthy while elusive. The primal owl allows your unleashed spells to reoccur many additional times
Aa bu güzelmiş.
and get stronger for each time they reoccur.
Real, all
The
seal.
nameless bloodline comes from the
Unleash.
King in the Mists. Be forewarned, his menacing power comes at a great cost. With the unseen hand, you can
Aha.
have a third ring.
Sıçarsın.
But you'll have to decide if that comes at the expense of having no
Aha.
amulet, no belt, or no flasks. Unlight Silhouette adds a hefty life cost to all your spells, but they deal
Artı bir
additional chaos
ring.
damage based on the amount of life spent.
Artı bir ring için ciğer verilir.
There is more to come. What powers might you glean from delving deep underneath Rayclass to fight all the Crystal King? What secrets can you learn from Lycia, Herald of the Scourge, waiting at the end of the Forbidden Sanctum? As you can imagine, there are countless possible combinations with the system. You could be a Slayer that embraces corruption and vile power, or perhaps you'll play an occultist that doubles down on their dark power by integrating the Nameless bloodline. We are excited to see what crazy and interesting builds players come up with.
Artı bir ring slot ne demek?
The most recent Path of Exile 2 expansion, the Third Edict, we introduced a much anticipated feature, fully asynchronous trade.
Tamam,
It
Trace
was a
biliyoruz zaten.
fantastic success. So now we're excited to announce
Normal Ascendancy pointinden verip bunlara vereceksin.
when you
Alıp
reach
o
Act
tarafa
6,
veriyorsun.
you'll be able to find Faustus in Lion Eye's Watch. Previously, he just operated the currency exchange. Now, he will also act as a steward for your
Aha GGG bile flip yapıyor oğlum.
These are where you can place items for sale, for direct and instant purchase by other players even when you're not online.
Oh,
To list an
kurtulduk
item,
gençler.
simply place it in the tab and select a currency and an amount.
20 mi? Ucuza veriyorsun lan. Ne yaptın?
Once listed, other
Nimis'i
players will
20
be able to
Divine'a
find the
verdi.
item by searching for it via the trade website or the new in-game market search. To purchase something for yourself, it's as easy as hitting this button, which will teleport you to the seller's hideout, where you can view their merchants tabs, buy the item, and also view the rest of their wares in case something else catches your eye. Every purchase costs a small fee of gold, as Faustus
Sezon
takes his
sonudur.
cut. To account for this further drain on gold, acquisition and cost balance elsewhere in the game has been adjusted. Anything you've managed to sell successfully will have your profits collected here, in a separate tab to claim at your leisure. To be clear,
Gold'u burada daha
these
rahat
means of
alabiliyorsun bu
trading,
arada.
such as via pre-existing premium stash tabs and the website, will still function just as before. Merchants
bütün
tabs and the
trade'ler devam
asynchronous trading
edecek.
that comes with them are an entirely additive feature on top of the already existing methods to trade.
Quote Merchant Tab gerek yok ya. Ya benim için gerek
You
yok en
might
azından.
find yourself needing the trade system to buy some upgrades, because this update also introduces 3 new Uber Pinnacle boss fights.
Hadi bakalım neler geldi.
These encounters are manifested from the memories of Zana, and in her long torment, they have festered into something truly deadly. These fights offer an imposing challenge, alongside powerful rewards. In order to gain access, similar to existing Uber Pinnacle fights, you'll need to discover fragments dropped by Tier 17 map bosses. Each attempt at the new Uber Pinnacle fights will require 5 of these. Let's dig into some of the challenges you'll need to face in these new Uber versions.
Moment of
The
Loneliness.
original incarnation of Neglect fight, the statues can be used to block the laser beams to hide behind, giving you an opportunity to avoid being shocked, frozen, or killed. When you run near these statues, they activate and allow you to reposition them. While activated, they will not stop the lasers, meaning you want to position them well, then avoid them. However,
Güzel.
in the Uber version of this fight, instead of being a safe haven, the statues will refract the laser beams, causing a ruckus of energy to cover the arena. Activating them will prevent the refraction, so unlike the base fight, where you want to position them well and then avoid them, you'll be wanting to constantly keep these statues active. You
Ha.
have to deal with their assaultive attacks. While fighting the incarnation of fear, these fiery orbs will slowly clutter up the arena, locking off portions of it until you bait the boss into detonating them himself with his thrown spear.
Ha, güzel mekanik bu,
When
basit.
Uberified, these orbs are attached by a flaming leash to the boss, rotating around him constantly. More and more will spawn as the fight goes on, making it even more imperative that you clean them up by cleverly using the boss's abilities against him.
Bu daha basit ilkine
Forming
göre.
an Incarnation of Dread fight during the bullet hell.
Bu zordur.
Acquire a red rose, run it to the boss, then collect a blue rose, doing the same, causing it to get heavy stunned and interrupting its mechanic. In the Uber version, you have to do the same, but in order to get the blue rose, you have to defeat the Incarnation of Neglect, and to get the red rose, you have to defeat the Incarnation of Fear. Good luck.
Good luck.
Given the difficulty of these bosses, their rewards should be worth your while. Let's take a look at some. From the Uber Incarnation of Neglect fight, we have Bitter Instinct, a spiky shield that turns retaliatory strikes
Aha, Taurus build.
into ones, making it just a matter of time before the long arm of justice crushes your foes. Alternatively, you might find Festering Resentment, a poisoned blade with an unending supply of toxins built into the hilt.
Aha, Assassin.
These toxins are put to good use.
Assassin.
Every spell you trigger to be capable of poisoning with all damage it deals.
Direkt Assassin'e dagger getirmişler.
Trigger-centric poison ruckus. And from the Uber Incarnation of Dread, the Hallowed Monarch, a counterpart to the Dark Monarch, which focuses more heavily on investing into one or a few minions, rather than growing your hordes to massive proportions.
Oha, Headhunter'ın minyon versiyonu gelmiş.
Chosen few at your side, stealing power from your enemies as you go.
Nasıl yani?
We've got a number of quality of life changes to bring to 327 as well.
Yapma bunu. Alo.
But have no desire to grind through the early progress of finding and running low-level contracts to get all of the rogues to their maximum level. Well, starting in 327, heist rogues will automatically begin at maximum level.
Bu çok güzel abi.
Your dubious criminal career
Arkadaşlar,
without all the busy
heist
work.
Heist çok iyi farm olacak söyleyeyim.
Points invested into your Atlas passive tree will now be refundable with gold. Just speak to
gold
Kara
da
to do
peki.
so. For players who love jumping between strategies, there's also an option to instantly refund your entire tree.
Bu çok iyi
Which of course
olmuş.
can now also be done with your regular passive tree as well. Now you can make all your decisions with no regrets.
Yapmaları 15 sene falan sürdü.
Maybe some regrets. You no longer need to purchase bestiary orbs. You can now itemize beasts for free directly from your bestiary.
Beast farmı da güzel. Einhar da güzel olacak bu
From
sezon.
late Act 1, you can now mass identify your items at an NPC in every town.
Sonunda ya.
And from
Sonunda
Hell's
yani.
Evil Hideout. This does
Ya Path of Exile 2'den geçtikten sonra en çok aradığım şey bu. Nerede? Identify'cı nerede?
Augmentation orb, you can now hold Alt to swap to using an augmentation orb, if one is available. Opening a blight chest will now open all other blight chests near it.
Bunun özel şeyi vardı
Rogues
3'de.
disenchanting services
Modu
can
vardı.
now be accessed from towns and hideouts. Kerak missions now have a handy icon to show at a glance what kind of mission they are.
Ya bu olmasın
Holding down
olmuş.
control
Bu-
and
bu var
right-clicking
ya.
on stacked decks will now
Yes.
continuously open them to your inventory,
Yes.
notifying you in chat what the outcome is.
Yere düşürmesi var bir de bunun.
Still want to open them direct to the ground to let your loot filter provide a dose of dopamine? You can still do that too.
Demon düşecek şimdi. Ayarlamışlar bak.
Val orbs can be
Düşmedi.
used on monsters encased in essences to the same effect that remnants of corruption have.
Tamam, Remnant of Corruption gitti, yerine Vaal atıyorsunuz artık. Path of Exile 2'den baktılar,
When
tuttu bu.
multiple skill gems are ready to level at the same time, you'll now be able to click this button to
Buna dikkat etmeniz lazım. Bazen çok feci baitlenebiliyorsunuz. Böyle Keystone Damage
Next
Taken
up,
falan
we're
filan.
going to be talking about our new
Onları belli bir seviyede tutmanız
support
lazım ya.
packs. Today, we're launching two new series of supporter packs: the Champion of Theopolis and the Verdant Magus packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value in points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions. As always, the microtransactions in these packs
Oh,
are
çok
purely
güzelmiş.
cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way.
Çok güzelmiş lan o.
The Champion of Theopolis series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions.
Çok para be anneciğim.
Ferocity, as the Lion's Might unique finisher effect rips your enemies to shreds.
Oha.
Open the Champion of Theopolis portal to end your crusade through maps in the style expected of a true victor of the arena. Defeat your enemies like a true gladiator, wearing the Grand Champion of Theopolis armor set. The armor awarded only to the most elite warriors of the Grand Arena.
600
Take
puan
charge
karşılığında.
of the situation and storm into combat with the Flaming Minotaur's Quicksilver Flask effect.
600 puan bu.
The Champion's Podium map device rises up to honor the glory you've achieved as you activate it. Ascend the stairs and stand atop the platform as you enter your maps. Each flame surrounding the platform represents a remaining use on your portal.
Oha çok güzelmiş. Çok
Burn
güzelmiş.
Mac Belly Goat carries all the supplies necessary for a campsite as he travels behind you in battle. When placed in a hideout,
Ne?
instead of roaming around like your other pets,
Stash yok değil mi onun
supplies are
üzerinde?
deployed, creating a small camp where you can access your stash and providing a place to take a load off while you rest next to the campfire. The Verdant Magus series contains 6 exclusive
Haritada değil mi o?
To
Haritadaysa
sell your items on your behalf is great and all, but sometimes you just want to feel a little bit more shady about your
map'te olmasın.
dealings. The Back Alley Trader hideout decoration is more secretive with your trades, creating distance between you and your customers. Note that until 327 is released, this
Tamam.
Back Alley Trader will only serve as your currency exchange. Once it's out, it will be updated to have the new managed shop option to also facilitate your trades. The Verdant Wayfinder pet is a loyal companion to any Master Magus. As you approach waypoints, it envelops them with its vines, guiding you throughout Rayclast. Control
lazımdı.
Earth and nature itself, as the Great Verdant Magus armor set envelops you in the ancient.
gladyatör güzelmiş ya. Bu çakma da.
There's also a matching back attachment included.
Gladyatör güzelmiş.
Remnants of the forest ripple out from within you with the Verdant Magus level up effect equipped, restoring life to the corrupted land. Call on an ancient golem to use their power to create a safe passage for you to retreat through with the Arcane Golem portal. As a Supreme Verdant Magus, you can travel to your Arcane Isle hideout. A cluster of islands held together by ancient magic passed down between elite mages. Stand atop your tower
Güzelmiş.
and relish the great heights you've reached above those who have not harnessed the arcane.
Oha çok güzelmiş bu.
These packs are now available for purchase.
Başlayacağım ama. Ne oluyor abi? Twitch.
Additionally, any microtransactions from these supporter packs will be made available for use in Path of Exile 2. Meanwhile, the Crypt Keeper and Frisian Magistrate packs leave the store forever at the launch of the Keepers of the Flame League, so now's your last chance to purchase them. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. We're just about to start the Q&A with Ziggy D. Afterwards, we'll post the full patch notes for Path of Exile, Keepers of the Flame.
Evet arkadaşlar.
11 a.m. New Zealand time,
YouTube.
3 p.m.
Buraya
Pacific.
kadarmış.
With release at the end of next week.
Yani baya
the
kısa.
team will be
Ne kadar sürdü? Yarım saat.
information you'll need for
Normalde
release. Keep an eye on the news.
durduralım.
Thanks.
Normalde biliyorsunuz daha uzun sürerdi. Yarım saatte bitirdiler. Yani böyle çok aman aman da bir şey gelmemiş yani önceki sezonlara göre ama okey yani. Hani yeni mekanik var, yeni craft var. Fena değil gibi. Neyse, videonun sonuna geldik. Beğendiyseniz bir beğeni, hala takip etmediyseniz bir takibinizi rica ederim. Sonraki videolarda görüşmek üzere. Path of Exile 1'den devam. Arada belki ufak tefek sürprizler olabilir. Bye bye.